You guys are getting fitter, stronger, faster, better technique. Where's the limit? Like,
I can't do it, CK, for sure. I can't do it. I'm way too, I can't. Yeah, I just want to do it and I will probably injure myself.
I think people normally think, oh yeah, whoever can just literally walk down into the court and actually take photos. It's not like that. It's social media. So for example, this is mainly where me and my team comes in. We work with the tournament organizers or local federations where they then bring us in to help them promote the tournament. We've gone to slow shuttles. Fast shuttles, how do you cope?
$175,000.
175K.
Yes. Actually, my honest opinion is that way too many amateur players or even younger players are starting out lifting weights
too early.
Way too soon. Getting the movement mechanics and getting the flexibility and all those things in place before you start lifting heavy weights is very, very important in my point of view.
I mean, I guess you fly to 15, 18 tournaments a year? How much does it cost you per tournament on average?
I should know.
Victor,
CK,
good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
Absolutely. Today we are recording episode 4.
Yes.
We are in Mulheim.
Andaruhr. Mulheim, Andaruhr.
Yes, close to the river. We are very close to the river. And today we're going to be talking about tournament preparation. So obviously last episode we talked about your training in general, where you're based, how it's all working. And today we are going to focus on tournament specific training before we move into some tournament media side of things, because obviously I think you have some questions for me on
Definitely,
that.
I do.
Okay. I think first of all, we want to tell everyone, the podcast is now out. Please go and listen to it. Let us know. Let's have some feedback. Leave some comments. Tell us if it's good, if it's not good. Let us know.
Yeah, we already had a bit of feedback for ourselves after listening to the episode. So I think I will maybe look to hire a speaking coach or whatever, so you don't say and 1,000 times. But we'll try to do better. But we have enjoyed the first episodes, and as CK says, all the feedback we can get, please feel free to send us a message, and don't forget to also share the podcast with your friends and family as well.
100%. So we're currently on Apple Podcasts as well as Spotify. And so we can also watch the full video. So we record this as a video podcast. So you can also watch it on YouTube and potentially also on Spotify, depending on what phone or what platform you're on. So go check them out. And so let's jump right in. So tournament preparation, tournament specific preparation. So walk me through. So for example, a week before, what happens?
Yeah, I think we talked a little bit about it in one of the other episodes in regards to like nowadays there are so many tournaments, so you can't possibly peak for all tournaments.
Yep.
So for example, we have a German Open this week playing in a few days. However, All England is coming up in a few weeks as well. So obviously All England is a Super 1000. So I obviously want to do well here at German Open, but All England is the Super 1000, is the big one. So in regards to training and preparation, I have to be okay with not having the freshest legs coming into German Open, because I still have to be in rather tough training leading up to the All England at this point. So, for example, 1 week beforehand, before Super 1000 or where you want to peak, you would, usually you will have like a sort of a taper week where it's very high intensity, but shorter duration when it comes to training. You will play short sets and stuff, keep it very explosive.
Tapering.
Okay. The week or two before, depending on where you are. And in an ideal world, you have had, like 4 or 5 weeks of sort of like a training block where you put in longer intervals on court.
Okay.
Maybe lift a little bit more, higher weights in the gym and stuff like that.
Okay. But that's 4 or 5 weeks before the big one.
You should, in an ideal world, nowadays it's very hard how the badminton calendar is. So for me, it has been very important throughout my career to be okay with, I call it training through a tournament, meaning that still make sure you take care of your strength and conditioning during the week, and still maybe do a little bit of extra training in the hall, etc., to keep up to build the base leading up to the big tournaments.
Okay. So how many big goals can you have in a year? So far for you?
I think possibly, they say that from a physical standpoint, like 1 or 2 times a year is the maximum where you can really peak when it comes to the physical preparation. However, I try to sort of peak around 2 to 3 times a year. Obviously, I have been very fortunate to have years where, for example, in 21, 22, where basically the entire year I was able to perform at a very high level.
Yep.
But physically, it's only 1 or 2 times where, if you do it right, where you really feel fresh from a physical and mental standpoint.
Okay.
So this year, it's like we have the All England where I really want to do well. We also have a World Championship. And those are sort of the 2 bigger ones this year.
Okay. So 7 days away, you still do two sessions a day?
Usually, yes. But the second session, no matter where it's more in terms of what I actually do in the hard morning session, for example, while back in the day I could do 2 hard sessions a day.
Okay.
Now I can't do 2 hard sessions on court simply because my body is already a little bit worn down from all the trainings I've been doing in the past.
Okay.
So it would usually be 1 hard in the morning, and then in the afternoon it would be, if I'm in the building phase, I will have quite a hard gym session and some skills on court, and then maybe also a little bit of cardio on the other days as well.
So talking about hard, how hard are the durations? When you say on court, so two court sessions a day, how long are they? 2 hours, 3 hours?
Usually 2 to 3 hours, yes, usually around 2 hours.
Yep.
But in those 2 hours, I will usually, if we do 2 against 1 training, for example, I will usually go every second interval.
Okay. How long is an interval?
An interval can be everything from, in the hard building phase, everything from 2, 3 to 5, 6 minutes.
Per set.
Per set. And maybe some of the Asian fans, looking at this now thinking 6 minutes, that's not that long. We're used to going 30 minutes or 20 minutes. But I've trained with a lot of Asian players, and I can say that the intensity is very different when it comes to this. When I say 6 minutes, it's like probably blocks of 2 minutes times 3.
Okay.
With there's 15, 20 seconds in between. But the intensity is very, very high. So I really try to push it in those 2 minutes 3 times, right? It's not just like low to moderate intensity, which is somewhere around the world, as we also talked about in another episode, in regards to the different training forms.
Yep.
So yeah, that's how I look at it.
Okay. So 2 sessions a day, 1 week out. Do you taper down to 1 session or 1.5 session, where the second session is more like skills based, more technical based, or just easing off on the load, I guess? Because we can quantify load, I guess, by intensity times duration, right? I guess there's a number for everyone. And then I guess you want to have the overall number go down. If the duration goes down, the intensity can go up, and you still have the same load impact.
Yeah.
But the overall load probably needs to decrease before you hit a tournament.
Yeah, definitely. So the load will be, as you say, will be different in the way that I might still be 2 hours in the hall in the morning for sure.
Yeah.
But it will be, instead of doing close to 2 hours very hard, it will be maybe 1 or 1 hour 15, where it's hard, high intensity, but with shorter intervals, be like 1.5 to 2 minutes.
Okay.
And then playing short sets, etc., etc. And then I will also still be in the gym or in the hall in the afternoon, but it will be more skill-based, and it will be maybe just a light spin or some explosive low rep sets in the gym.
How many SNC? Oh, well, I think if we go, how many gym sessions do you do in a week on a training week every day?
I do gym every day.
Every day.
But when it comes to, like, as you probably are thinking about, lifting sessions, it's 2 to 3 per week.
2 to 3. So obviously, I'm guessing you have push, pull, and also recovery?
Actually, no. I don't have push-pull. My setup is totally different.
Okay.
I'm working with a very competent guy called Death, who is also at NAS, where I train on a daily basis when I'm back home in Dubai.
Okay.
And we have all kinds of different sessions. It can be, we just call it like lift 1, lift 2.
Okay.
And then we also have like AR, like active recovery sessions. We have core sessions and stuff like that.
Okay.
So ours is more like sort of a full body, probably setup, you would call it. But it really depends also where I am physically and where we are in terms of tournament preparation.
And obviously, I'm assuming the program is specifically designed for you and your needs. So, okay, so if we look back out a little bit more for amateur players, so obviously there'll be a lot of us amateurs listening.
Yeah.
What would be the most impactful areas to work on? So, for example, badminton, we normally think it's legs heavy, it's core heavy. Do you agree? What should amateurs work on? Like, any advice you can give as amateurs?
Yeah, I think actually my honest opinion is that way too many amateur players or even younger players are starting out lifting weights way too soon, because they don't have the right technique when it comes to lifting weights, and they go way too hard in the gym. And if you don't move properly and your movement mechanics isn't in place when you start lifting heavy weights and stuff, then your risk of injury is very, very high. So, and I know also from like both financial and whatever, it's not possible for everybody to have a private S&C coach, but getting the movement mechanics and getting the flexibility and all those things in place before you start lifting heavy weights is very, very important in my point of view.
Okay.
So just jumping in the gym and me sitting here saying, hey, you should do squats and deadlifts and whatever, have a pull push day. I don't think that's right. I think the movement mechanics is very important also when it comes to the gym.
Okay.
And also how you move on court, actually.
Okay, so focus on the on-court basics first.
Also the gym basics first. Like the movement. How do you do a squat? Like, how does your flexibility look when you do like just a body weight squat? How's your flexibility? How is your,
form.
How's your form? All those kind of things is very, very important.
Yep.
So to get a full body screening and, make sure that
it's a good investment to have.
It's a very good investment, and make sure there's so much information on the internet as well. So you can also go down the wrong rabbit hole where it's very extreme, all those kind of things, plyometrics, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
When you don't really know how much or what you actually need. So I understand why it can be very, very hard to know which way to go. But I would say that focusing on the movement mechanics and the form is very important, and cover the basics before you start lifting heavy weights is very important also for young players.
Okay. So now moving back out a little bit more, back onto tournament prep again. So a week of deloading, tapering, and then how early do you fly to a tournament?
Usually, if we play in Asia, where there is a big time difference.
How big is big?
That is like 5 to 8 hours difference. I usually fly out on Friday, playing either Tuesday or Wednesday. In an ideal world, you would maybe even fly earlier, but that's simply not possible from a family and also training standpoint, because usually the setup in the main hall and stuff like that, you're not able to get in the main hall before Monday, Tuesday anyway, right?
Yep.
Sometimes Sunday if we're lucky. So usually fly Friday, then I land, if I'm lucky, Friday evening from Dubai, if I fly from Dubai. And then you can use the weekend to sort of get into a normal rhythm.
Do you train during the weekend?
Yes, I do. Like, it would be like usually light on court stuff and then gym.
Who arranges all those training sessions? So for example, surely you will have training sessions, right? Who arranges those? And then do you always have access to a court and a gym?
I would say 95% of the time I find a court, or I have connections who can help me find a court when I'm out in the world. Gym, I always make sure that there is one on the hotel which I can use or close by. So together with Daph, my S&C coach, we make sure we have a plan, and together with my coaching team, PK and Gade, we also make sure that I have the on-court stuff covered. But it's not much I do during the weekend leading up, when I just landed leading up to a tournament. It's more about getting the body healthy and on track in order to perform for the Tuesday, Wednesday match. Okay.
So here's, I want your little tip for the listeners and the viewers listening here. So you travel a lot. What advice? So obviously after landing, for me personally, I find it like super dry, really hard to move because I guess your joints and your body is just tired, stressed from all the traveling. What's the main thing you do? Like, do you drink a lot of water on the flight, or what do you do?
I drink a lot of water on the flight because, as you say, you will be very dehydrated on the flight. And for those hours you're not sleeping on the flight, I make sure to get up every hour, do a little bit of stiff-legged deadlifts, or do a little bit of movement back in the flight. And make sure to, if you want to take it a little bit further and you have a time difference when you're traveling to the location you're going, I would suggest eating in the time zone you're actually going. So for example, if you know it's in the middle of the night and you're awake on the flight, I don't usually eat. I always wait until it's morning time on that location, and I will also usually have my last meal so it simulates the dinner time in the place where I'm going.
Okay.
So food and light, having blue light blocking glasses, for example, is another good idea to combat jet lag. Make sure you drink lots of water, even maybe having some electrolyte supplement with you on the flight.
Okay.
And then get up standing for the, every hour if you're not sleeping.
Okay. And then when you land, what happens? Is there always transport ready to pick you up? So you have that arranged, I'm guessing through the tournament organizers, because I think all you players have to put in, if you're traveling with the official organizers, and then they pick you up, and then you get shipped to the hotel. Well, dropped at the hotel very, very quickly.
Usually, yes.
Okay. How long is that period normally? 2-3 hours?
For me, because I usually book other hotels than what the official hotels is. Because
is there a reason why?
Yeah, I like to be. We look at each other a lot as players, and the gym is usually super packed when we're out on tour.
Yeah.
So to stay at your other hotel where you feel like you're basically a little bit alone.
Yeah.
In the hotel is good just for mental,
more peace and quiet.
More peace and quiet. The gym is not packed. The breakfast is not. I love all the other players. Obviously, I like them, but it's not. You don't have to just from a mental relaxation standpoint, you don't have to talk every morning, hey, how are you doing? All that kind of stuff. I like when I'm in tournament, I like to, if I can, be on my own a little bit.
Yep.
And then when I go into the stadium, I know then we can chit chat and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So I like to book other hotels simply because I like the peace and quiet, as you say.
Okay.
Also, there are some benefits for me because I book on my own. Nothing is covered from the federation from my point of view.
Mm-hmm.
So I can, I try to be tactical in terms of I stay at the same, I might use Marriott, so I, get points and stuff like that. Same as with the flight points. I usually fly Emirates when I live in Dubai, so you get those benefits.
Okay.
So both for the coaches and for me myself as well.
Okay, so you say you book them. So you personally book them, or you have a team that books it for you?
I have a team I have a travel agent who helps me he can help me with the hotels as well, but I usually book them myself, but the flights I usually book through my agent.
Okay. And then for your coaches and your team as well, I'm assuming you cover all their fees.
I cover everything myself.
So can you give us an average number? How much does it cost per tournament? I guess you fly to 15, 18 tournaments a year? How much does it cost you per tournament on average?
I should know. But I would say in total, when it comes to coaches and all that kind of thing, I would guess that I might use also for myself, the family. You have to keep in mind that I have a family and I prioritize.
Absolutely.
When they can travel, we travel
together.
And, I fly business class when I go for tournaments. And I did that from a very young age because I realized when I grew very tall, it was a big priority for me to fly business class because I was way more recovered when I arrived.
Yep.
My back wasn't hurting as much as when I was sitting economy and stuff. And I know that it's not possible for anyone, but that was a big priority for me. So I would say roughly excluding salaries and all that kind of thing, I would say that on a yearly basis, I maybe use around $175,000.
$175K?
Yes.
Just for you and your team?
For me and my team on hotels, flights and stuff.
Wow.
And that sounds like a lot, but it's
an investment, right?
Yeah,
it's a business and you cover that from the performance and the results that you get.
Yes.
Okay. So how big is the traveling team? So I think we mentioned, so mainly it's coaches.
And that's also with the family travels back and forth and stuff.
Okay. So coaches, so 2 coaches, yourself, so it's 3. You don't have any sparring partners traveling with you normally, but you have 2 kids and Natalia, I'm assuming. So that's normally about 3 to 6 of you?
Yeah, normally it's some tournaments they're going and some they're not. And this is also not only for tournaments, but it's also when we go back to Denmark, for example, to stay there. So everything there, flight tickets, hotels and stuff.
So actually thinking about it, 125K doesn't sound that much.
No, it's not. And nowadays the flight tickets are absolutely insane. So, it's a good, that's also one of the things where when I chose to move to Dubai and stuff, I knew that this would be, the expense would be bigger.
Yeah.
Also I do have, I need to cover for, as I say, some of the Airbnbs when family comes, when sparring partners comes, all those kind of things. And so there might be a small add to the 175K, but around there, you should probably.
That's a good number. Okay.
175 to 200K with everything, the entire setup, in-flight tickets, hotels and stuff.
Have you actually ever counted how many days you are away on a tournament? So if you do 15, that's 15 weeks, but you have like plus minus 2-3 days each time, right?
Yes, I do. And then I also have some other events and stuff like that I attend to, or if sometimes I'm flying out to do some Yonex or do other personal sponsorship, events and stuff like that. So I would say in the most busy years, probably around 250 days or something.
250 days?
Yeah, between 200 and 250 days, I would say in the most busy year.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So that's a lot. I think people don't realize how intense the schedule is, like normal fans.
But also for me, I've had quite a bit over the last few years, other stuff I needed to do, be it with my sponsor Helm or monitor and stuff, which mean that sometimes, and Yonex as well, which means that I sometimes have to travel a bit earlier. How about yourself, actually? How many travel days do you have?
Last year was a very interesting one. So last year, me and my team, we managed to do 13 tournaments.
Oh, wow.
So it's quite a lot. I actually calculated, I took 36 flights last year. So that's actually quite a lot. And in terms of just flying hours, so this is me being sat on a plane. So I sat and added all them up. It was 6.5 days just in the air time.
But I would say that being on the flights is actually my most productive time. Because you don't have any Wi-Fi usually. Yeah. You can take care of stuff. I don't know how. Are you able to do work on the flight?
I work all the time.
Then it's maybe it's not that sad after all.
I think because you're in your little bubble.
Yeah.
For me, I'm in my little bubble, and so I just get a lot of stuff out. But obviously, I don't fly business. Hopefully, one day we can consistently.
Wait for this podcast to take off, CK.
Airline sponsors,
class.
Airline sponsors, please. If you hear us, help us out. Come on board. We'd love to talk. So I 36 flights last year and 145 flying hours only. And currently we're only recording this in late February. I'm already on my 9th flight. So this year is also looking quite a lot.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I work a lot on the planes. But then obviously I can't work fully like I am in the office. But I try and do what I can, like a lot of mental deload, like reviews.
Probably also good.
So do a lot of reviews, planning for that, and then also I think reviewing a lot of events that's happening, planning. Those two are the main ones. And then listening to podcasts. Actually, I spend a lot of time listening to podcasts on the plane, getting fresh ideas. Looking and listening about things that I don't normally come across.
Of course, it's a very good idea. Yeah, I think it's great what you and your team are doing. We need that in badminton to have some content creators and to have someone who are, creating interesting content and who are giving the fans an insight into what happens behind the scenes and how does the players think and stuff. So it's great for all the players, I think, to have an opportunity to hopefully work with you more in the future as well.
Yeah, I mean, same for us. We would love to work more within badminton itself. I think we are hopefully because we want to do things the right way a lot of the time, and we want to make sure badminton looks as professional as possible because, like you said, it is an underrated sport, but there's a lot of potential and upside. We want to make sure that badminton sees its potential as much as possible, and that's why and we also love the sport. Like we're first and foremost truly fans of the sport. I think the team that's actually behind the cameras here, everyone plays. Oftentimes at a very good level. Not as good as you, but we try.
3 against 1 we can try maybe.
Wow, maybe 10,000 likes and we get to play 3 versus 1 against Viktor.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. And so it'll be something like this. But I think we love the sport and we want to see the sport grow to a better place. And again, we want to share our experiences, our insight, and our love for the sport with everyone. I think that's why we're also sitting down here doing this, recording this.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so we go back out a little bit.
Yeah.
Main court. So when we always talk about main hall practice, so I think for all the viewers and listeners out there, so whatever you see on the BWF YouTube feed or all the tournament official feeds, those are already the main courts. So we call that the main hall. Obviously, you guys have other practice halls, 2 or 3 often, that we don't get to film in, we don't get to see. But when you step onto the main court, what do you look for? Because last year, Tobias Vedenka, so also a German coach and YouTube content creator, we both did a video at the German Open last year looking and feeling at how the courts are so different compared to any usual hall that we play on. The mats are rougher. If you slip and slide, if you get bleeds and whatever. What do you look for you?
Yeah, it's definitely different for us. It's first of all, I don't think we have enough main hall time as players. For
How long do
example,
you get
this week at German Open we have around 40 minutes.
per player?
Usually, yes, around maximum an hour,
Okay.
which is not enough. I think you at All England it will probably be the same scenario where you get maximum 1 hour. Obviously, it's a question about how you prioritize it.
Okay.
There is like a certain rules in regards to how many players does the given country have in the tournament, and then they provide you with the main court time.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's how they sort of calculate that, but I still don't think it's enough. So you can be. I'm a little bit jealous when I see the tennis players, practicing at the courts because they're obviously just there at stadiums, right?
Yeah.
But so that's one thing, and then what we usually look for in terms of your question is that the lighting, the drift can be different though on the training days compared to when you actually play the tournaments, because maybe the air condition is a little bit stronger on the match days. Maybe obviously there's more spectators,
Yep.
so the heat will,
Yep.
it will also affect the shuttle a bit.
Okay.
But all those things, the lighting, the drift, how it feels visually, sometimes even the fact that some stadiums there is a lot of space behind the courts out to the spectators, and some stadiums are smaller. So all that, even though the court is the same size, it plays into how you feel on court. It's very, very different.
Yeah. So I had a very lucky experience. So I think maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I managed to play on court at the not German Open, the All England finals day.
Yeah.
Before the courts went grey, I was actually hitting with Peter Gator.
Oh yeah.
6 a.m. on a Sunday morning finals day.
6 a.m.
6 a.m. We were very keen. Yonex very kindly let us on court, and Peter with the Paraboys, UK Paraboys, were also playing. And for the first time, I really understood why, when you guys said the shuttle was slow and the courts was hard to play, I understood it personally, because...
You're sure it's not because it was 6 a.m.?
6 a.m. and also me not being very good.
Just if anybody asks and see the video and they think you didn't play, we'll just say it was 6 a.m.
Yeah, so...
I'm not supposed to play 6 a.m.
Yeah. I mean, and also I partnered Peter Gator and I lost every single time.
Okay.
So it's me, not him.
Okay. It's okay. We'll still play Peter, but it's okay.
But like you said, the seats were far behind, like the distance was behind. The first time you clear and you don't know if the shuttle is actually too far or too close.
Yeah, All England is one of those tournaments where you really have to get a feel for the courts, because there is quite a bit of gap and you feel like the shuttle is, as you say, drifting in the air quite a bit.
Yeah.
So the timing, it usually take even one round before you actually feel very comfortable there.
Okay.
So it is quite a tricky stadium to play in.
And then shuttles. So obviously when I look at some of the tournament prospectus, a lot of times they say practice shuttles, either no shuttles or you get 2 per player or 3 per player.
I think it's 2 per player or something usually.
2 per player. And so main hall training days, do you get fresh new shuttles, like say 2 per player to play with?
Yeah, for those training you have like 2. For the entry fee you pay for the player, I think that's included, that you get 2 shuttles per player. But I usually have also a few extra of my own. Okay. Even though it's not the tournament speed and the same shuttle sometimes, still it's good to have to travel with some shuttles if you can.
So from me as an amateur looking at a lot of professionals, and even within our own amateur ranks, we often find that players who can cope very well with slow shuttles, like with enough physical power or technique just to get out of trouble, that's a sign of a player being able to perform quite well, being able to, because they can get out of trouble, right? Even with slow shuttles. Do you normally tend to practice with slower shuttles than the actual speed?
Sometimes, yes, but I think over the last year or so, there has been quite a few extra tournaments, which is now sponsored by Viktor. And those shuttles are a little bit more lively compared to Yonex, which is a little bit more stable in terms of speed, I would say. So, yes, you're correct in saying that the slow shuttles, if you're able to play with that from a physical standpoint and from a strength standpoint, you're able to do good in those big stadiums. But I would also say that nowadays, I think the shuttles has become a little bit faster over the last year or two.
So it's transitioning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Compared to 2 years ago.
So okay, now if we've gone to slow shuttles, fast shuttles, how do you cope?
you have to be very careful, especially if there's drift as well and you're playing up with the drift.
Yeah.
You really have to be careful, and you have to take into consideration where is the drift coming from. If there's a little bit of a side drift, you can push it slightly more to that side. So because the wind is taking, it's going against the shuttle a bit, even on the faster side.
Yep.
And on the slower side, you also have to make sure you play with the right length and you push it with the right speed. So it sounds a bit nerdy, and people might be sitting and thinking, is it really that big of a deal? And it is a big deal. Like it impacts a lot on how you think about the matches, how you think about the sides.
Yep.
That's also why, in terms of the scoring system, I don't really understand why we're not talking if we have to change.
Yep.
Why we're not thinking about 5 sets, so you get to change sides more times, so the sides doesn't have that big of an impact on the games.
Yeah. So for me, playing at 6 a.m. on the Sunday at the All England Club, I realized obviously there's no air conditioning on. That's because at 6 a.m. and still I was able to feel when I hit it, the shuttle on a straight clear, I can see the shuttle just glide, and the shuttle hangs in the air. Like, it just stays in the air and it glides.
Yeah.
But so I cannot imagine what is it like for you guys when it's actually 5,000 people, 8,000 people screaming, air conditioning going on, everything going crazy.
Yeah, but you get from every rally, you get more and more
information,
and you feel more and more confident.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like everything else, your body will, without knowing it, you will get into a rhythm. You start to know which corners you can play more easily than others.
Okay. And then talking about the mats, so in the main hall. So main hall mats are different because there's different grades. For example, Yonex, Viktor, leading, I'm assuming they all have the same. I don't even know if they come from the same factory, just OEM differently. I don't know. But they have different grades of roughness.
Mm.
And also, I guess the training halls mats are different to the actual on the main hall mats. Do you move differently? Do you learn how to move differently, or come naturally now?
It come naturally, and I have to be very careful in terms of what I say, because obviously I'm sponsored by Yonex, full disclaimer. But seeing it from totally objective point of view, the Yonex mats, and I think if you ask all players, they would say that Yonex mats are by far the best mats.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the courts we have been playing on from other brands during the year, it gets super slippery because the quality or the material they use, if there's a little bit humid in the stadium, it gets, because it's sort of more of like a
layer of water on the top, right?
It is. While the Yonex, it's like it's not hairs, but there is a little bit of something where the water actually can sink down in the mat, so it doesn't feel like it's as slippery.
Yeah.
So some of the mats, it almost feels like you're playing on wooden floor, and you don't really see, and it gets so slippery if it's very humid. It has gotten a bit better, but there's still a big gap between Yonex and the other brands' mats for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, being a heavy guy, it's very, very important that if there is just a little bit of water, that you actually get the water away from the mats.
Mm-hmm.
There is different quality, and also in terms of if you do a dive, for example.
Yeah.
It's not that fun to do a dive on a fresh new Yonex mat because those courts are very rough, while on the other brands it's a little bit easier to dive and slide a bit.
Yeah.
So that's how the difference usually is.
So for the listeners that's actually listening in, when we talk about rough, so my experience when I really step on court for the main hall mats for the very first time, and I remember seeing the grey fresh courts as well.
Yeah.
How rough that was talking about was about, I'd say it's like the asphalt road, like the road that we drive on, but say about 50% roughness of the road. So it's really rough. Like and you guys diving on it like all the time. I guess it helps when you're sweating already. So it slides out a little bit. But like you said, fresh roughness, 50% of asphalt road, diving. Boy.
Yeah, I don't dive as much as I did in the past, luckily, but it is very rough. And when do
you train for it actually? Do you train diving? Like volleyball?
Not really. In the past, when I was a young player, I did way more diving than I do now, but now I'm so tall and I really do little diving. But still in the defense, there's quite a bit of, rotation and diving when you go out to the sides.
Yeah.
And even those, sometimes there, I still have, as you can see here, I have here, I also have on my knee, I think, still. Yeah, you can see here, right? That's all from diving.
Okay.
So they are still a bit rough to dive on, and you have to be careful. also in terms of other injuries if you really dive, because sometimes you're putting a lot of pressure on your left hand when you go out in the defense.
Yeah.
Not from the roughness point of view, but risk
Straining.
of injury, and you really have to be careful when diving, and the technique. Luckily, I did a lot of diving skill training when I was younger, and I think that's so well integrated in my game nowadays.
Okay, because obviously we see the transition. I guess the first 2-3 players that dived a lot was maybe Lindan Lee Chong Wei. You see it on TV, right? And then now I think diving defense is part of the game now at the elite level for you guys.
It is, yeah.
And so you trained for it specifically previously when you were a kid?
Yeah, I did personally, and nowadays, as you say, I think it's something which you just have in your game. Every player know how to dive in the defense. You basically have to, because the attack is so good. And yeah, also the defense for many of the players are so good. You even see the women's singles doing some kind of diving nowadays.
Yeah.
And that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So obviously we were talking about training, but I want to take your space a little bit more for this. So badminton, everyone's getting stronger. Attacks are getting better. Defenses are getting stronger. Where do you see the sport evolving to in the next 5-10 years? So obviously we started with Lindan Lee Chong Wei diving defense, and now offenses are so strong. Shuttles are exactly stable, I guess, most of the time. But you guys are getting fitter, stronger, faster, better technique. Where's the limit?
I don't know where the limit is, but I'm pretty confident that in 10-15 years from now, when we are old and grey, maybe not that old and grey, but when we're sitting there and looking at the matches I played, and we look at the current players in the future, we will say that, whoa, Viktor, he was playing slow, or
game style is different.
Yeah, very different. I don't know where, it also depends on the scoring system. If we change that, you're able to play maybe a little bit more aggressive, more fast and stuff like that. And maybe that will have a bigger impact. But when older players or former players, they are comparing themselves and saying that, they will be able to compete with the current players nowadays, I don't believe it, really. I really don't believe it. I think we will continue to raise the bar. The players after me will continue to raise the bar, and the future new talent would kick my ass, probably, if we had to play a match. So,
were you playing the World Seniors?
No, for sure. I can say that with great confidence, that when I stop my professional career, I won't compete in the senior circuit. That's not for me.
Even just for fun?
No, I can't play for fun.
Well, you have to win.
I can't play for fun, and also my body. I think I will maybe play if our daughters would like to play, or if there is Yonex wants me to play something or whatever. Partners, but I'm not playing any competitive tournaments for fun.
Okay, well, because like for example, we see some legends like Tony Gunawan. He's still playing at a very, very good level. And obviously, occasionally he competes. I guess mainly for fun. He also has a very decorated career.
I can't do a CK for sure. I can't do it. I'm way too. I can't.
It's competitive.
I just want to do it, and I will probably injure myself, and I will probably get, I don't know, angry or whatever. I don't. I'm not going down that path. When I'm done, I'm done.
Okay, so no over 75 men's singles world champion. Okay.
No, for sure not.
So we have a chance.
You have a chance. You have a chance.
We have a chance. Yeah. Okay. So because actually we're not in the same age group, but then you're just one below me. But you can always play it down, right? At some point. Okay. So moving away from World Senior Championships, main hall, and then during day to day. During the tournament, how much do you train? Do you still train every day, or like you get up, today's a match day, you have your coffee, selfie?
I still do something in the gym. If I have an evening match, I usually play evenings.
Yep.
I would go to the gym in the morning or later in the day to do a potentiation session, it's called.
Okay.
Basically
activation.
Yes.
Okay.
Where you get the body ready. Depending on where I am physically, do I have any small injuries? Am I feeling completely fresh? Is it a semi-final? Is it a first round?
Do you do different things?
Different things.
The first round. Okay.
Everything can be different depending on...
Can you give us a little flavor of what is it like?
If I'm totally fresh and it's a first round and I'm physically perfect, I would do a little bit more, maybe a few heavier lifts in the morning, just a few reps, a few sets of explosive movements to get my body ready and up in gear. If it's a finals day, and I play maybe a bit earlier in the day than usual, I'm feeling tired, I'm stiff, then it would be more of like a flexibility movement kind of session.
Active
maybe
recovery.
A walk. Yeah,
Maybe.
sort of thing.
Okay. And then, going back, training. So main hall training. So because it's allocated via federations, right?
Yeah.
So like this week you've got 4 p.m., which is perfect. What happens if you allocate at 8 a.m.?
Then you go at 8 a.m. So
what changes? What changes in the routine? Nothing changes.
Yeah, it changes because then I would again like try to do a session in the morning.
Yeah.
Maybe I do a bit of skill if I only have like 30 minutes in the main hall or 40 minutes, which happens sometimes.
Okay.
So yeah, then I basically just shift. This morning I was also in the gym.
Okay.
And we practice at 4 p.m. So a usual setup would be breakfast, go to the gym, rest, or podcast. And then rest, preparation, lunch, go main hall. Then
active recovery
sort of thing.
Okay. Are you a sleep person? How many hours do you need minimum a day?
At least I would like 8 to 9 hours, but I'm okay with 7 to 8.
Okay. And obviously having a young family does impact that side of sleep, I guess?
Quite a bit, yeah.
Yeah.
But I try to sleep as much as possible, and now they sleep quite okay. So I'm able to get at least 7 hours per night.
Okay. 7 hours per night. Okay, so now we are back into train routine. Main court, done. And then obviously during tournament, you change depending on the day of the tournament. If, for example, touch wood, you have an early upset, what happens?
Then the plan changes. We structure right away a training plan for the next week if I play the week after.
Yep.
If I don't have any tournament after, we try to get home as soon as possible.
Okay.
And
you ring up your travel agent, hey, I need to change all the plans.
And then we do that. I send him an email. He sends me the options. I say, go ahead. We book this flight.
Okay.
And then we go ahead with that. So that's how it usually works in terms of the travel plans. Okay. So, yeah, that's usually how it is.
Okay. So meaning, yeah, because we see players often leaving Friday, Saturday, Sunday, depending on where they are.
Yeah.
And if they have a tournament next week, they try and leave, say, Friday, so they get in fresh again, just try and reset the routine again.
Yeah.
And I guess it's the same for you?
It's, if you have lost a match or you have had an upset in the week, you would like to, also depending on the training facilities, if it's very good training facilities where you are at the moment, you stay here because it's easier to train and stuff, and then maybe leave a day later than usual. But you would like to get away from the place you lost just to get, as you say, total refresh and restart your preparation for the next tournament. Okay. And that's, I think, how usually the players are thinking.
Okay. Do you, so for you as a player, do you feel like you lose sharpness after 1 or 2 days of no training, no playing?
Not really. I think now, especially now when I'm in the later stage of my career, I've been on the tour for so many years. I've had tournaments where my preparations has been very bad and I still played very, very good. Okay. So it's all a mental thing. I feel if I just have a few days where I feel quite confident, then, and in trainings, then I feel quite confident also to go in and play.
Okay. Sorry guys, we just had an interruption. Room service. Well, housekeeping. Sorry.
Housekeeping, yes.
Housekeeping was actually wondering. Don't worry, no panic. Okay, so we then move on to. I would like to move you onto the cameras that's actually on the court. So on the.
That's interesting for me because I don't know much about all this stuff, and I've had those cameras around us for my entire career. But maybe you can talk a little bit about it also in terms of how do you is it easy to even get access to take photos and videos next to the court?
It's actually an incredibly tough process. Generally, I think people normally think, oh yeah, whoever can just literally walk down into the court and actually take photos. It's not like that. I think BWF is trying really hard to make this as professional as possible. Obviously, they prioritize the professional journalists, photographers, videographers. But actually, the question I was going to give you is on the main hall training day, you will see TV cameras being set up, right? So at the World Tour. So how many types of media do you think are there at a badminton tournament?
How many types of media? Like media outlets, you mean?
No. Types of media as in, so I was going to say traditional media and then modern media. So traditional media is TV, radio and print. So print as in newspapers, magazines, and then obviously more modern media is social media content, so long form, short form, vertical, landscape.
Like in total, I don't know, maybe 6 different.
Yeah. So normally you will see TV cameras being set up.
Yeah.
And then those are the big cameras with the operators on site. And obviously you have a lot of photographers already on the floor. But then do you realize that sponsor media are separate to TV and also social media as well?
Makes sense.
Yeah. So actually, if you look on court, so for example, say at the All England or the German Open, you will see TV courts, but then the TV crew are local crews.
Okay.
So did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Okay. I wanted to
maybe, I didn't know, but I still knew that usually, because as other sports, we don't have the same guys traveling around when it comes to TV all the time. So obviously it has to change.
Yes.
While as in, if you talk Formula One, or I don't know about tennis, but that's usually
same crew.
Yeah, same crew traveling around with ATP and stuff.
Yeah, I guess maybe 2 sets of crews for that, or multiple sets, but
probably
it's the same crew. So actually, I think the only one with a similar crew, I think mainly is Hawkeye. So Hawkeye has
I'm seeing the same people from Hawkeye.
Yeah. And so that's why actually for viewers or listeners watching, if you realize that BDBF's feed have different looks every single different tournament, that's because they use a local crew most of the time. So it's a local TV crew that comes in, does all the rigging, and then obviously the feed then goes on to the world feed. But so with Formula One, they have the same crew, so same systems, and so they look consistently. So maybe that would be some place that to get consistent look, consistent heights, or angles, that would be one way to move forward. But in terms of social media, normally there's also a tournament-based social media. So, for example, this is mainly where me and my team comes in. We work with the tournament organizers or local federations, where they then bring us in to help them promote the tournament. This could range from we could have photographers, videographers, graphic designers, social media and marketing specialists. They come in, and then we make sure we try and promote the tournament from a commercial standpoint.
But if you didn't have any work, or not the tournament organizer or other sponsors, if they didn't hire you, would you be able to send an email to BWF and say, hey, I would like to come do my own content for this tournament? Would you be able to get in?
Not necessarily, and not often possible. So I think as any advice for anyone who's looking to come to a tournament, please don't start with the biggest ones. Like a lot of people, they want to come to the All England, they want to come to the World Championships, but that's the very first one that they think about.
Yeah.
Probably not. So if you have a lot better chances if you apply directly to each tournament. So each tournament mainly probably will have a website, and there will be a media application.
I see. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
Yep. So apply for, say, a 100, a 300, even international challenge, ICIS, international series, ICIS, 100, 300s, you get a lot better chances at coming in and actually doing freelancing work. So actually, that's actually how we've met a lot of our team, because each of us have actually tried on our own separately to apply for tournaments, and that's actually how we met them. And then we loved how each other's working, and then we then kind of combined forces, and that's how the team got bigger and bigger and bigger over time.
That's very cool.
Yeah. So and now again we see a lot of photographers, videographers, they take initiative and they come in. And obviously they come in on their own freelancing. So we used to always pay for our own accommodation, all our flights. So it's an investment, because we love the sport and we want to further our professional skills as well. And so we meet a lot of people there. So yeah, if anyone wanting to come, try the smaller tournaments first. Your local tournaments would also be very good to have you there promoting your local tournaments. But then 100, 300s, ICIS, FS, Future Series, International Series, and then also International Challenges. I think those are excellent places to start. There's not a lot of pressure, because you also have more freedom on court as well.
Yeah.
Like, I think what people don't realize is that the big tournaments, there's not a lot of space for you to actually sit as a photographer or a videographer.
No.
And there's a lot of restrictions going on.
It definitely looks like there is a lot of restrictions. I have had my own team sometimes being at the tournaments, because I needed some footage for whatever project we were working on with sponsors and stuff. And I know that it's quite rigid when it comes to...
It is quite rigid, because again, sport is a business.
For sure.
And so badminton events, I guess, BWF sanctioned badminton events are a product of BWF. So they need to protect their interests, which is completely fair enough. And so we have to work within the regulations. So for example, we are not supposed to use anything that we film on court. So on court, we call it FOP, so field of play. So anything that we use in terms of video access, video content, we cannot use it on our personal content, like personal channels. Like we do not do that unless we get special clearances for that as well. So that's actually really interesting to learn. Photos, we can. So if we shoot photos, you can use that mainly. But it's quite important that we credit whoever that actually produces those, because it's important to share good work as well.
So basically how you got started was because of the love of the game. You saw that there was like a gap or a niche here, or, you know, a part of the sport where it wasn't really... There was an opportunity here to do something in terms of media, and then you started out slowly, and then you gathered a whole team who was in the same position, and now basically you're able to make it run around because the brands, the tournaments and stuff like that will hire you to do content. But in the start, you made your own investment of getting in, all of you.
Mine was slightly different. So for me personally, it was because I started the YouTube channel.
Okay.
So I had a YouTube channel talking about equipment. So I talked about rackets, I talked about strings, shoes. And then from there, I started working with Yonex UK. And then Yonex UK, one day, they said, you know, they allowed me to come on to the All England.
Yeah.
Yonex All England. But obviously that was very difficult because they brought me on sponsor media. So sponsor media is very different, and they have no access generally to the field of play or the actual play itself. But then obviously because of my content and my channel, I then started working with BWF because they noticed that the content I was doing was good enough.
Yeah.
And so they wanted to start working with me. Obviously, I had to go through a vetting process. That standards are important.
Of course.
I want to make sure it's professional. And there's a lot for me to learn as well because my background's not in media.
No.
And then so from there on, it quickly moved on to how can I actually make this work? And then we saw that badminton doesn't have a lot of really good-looking professional content. And over the last 18 months, you know, our team, again, like you said, slowly grew. We met a lot of very good people working on the tournaments. And I wanted to work with great people. That's actually really important to me. And we want to showcase badminton in the best possible light. Obviously, there's a lot of challenges with everything.
Yeah, of course.
But it's part of the process.
Yeah, definitely.
And so we got in touch with the best people that we can. Obviously, financing all this is very important. Like sustainability for me at the start was very important. Financial sustainability, time sustainability as well.
Yeah.
And obviously, we travel a lot, so we try and do as much as we can.
Yeah.
Make sure, you know, we take care of everything.
That's very cool. Very cool.
We want to do more.
Yeah, I think, but you're already at a good place now, I think, and as you say, how long time have you been going now, all of
Full time, 19, 20 months now.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, I think you're in a good spot. So it's very, I think it's very good for the sport, as I say, to have people like you and your team doing this good content and stuff, because I think the sport really needs it. And even if you look at, badminton in China, for example, the WeChat of badminton is so huge, like one of the biggest sport WeChat platforms, I think, in the country as well.
Yeah.
So there is definitely a huge potential when it comes to badminton content. And we also have guys in Denmark, like on top of my head, Mads Christophersen. He's doing quite a bit on his own personal. He has like, I think 150K followers, and mainly, you know, he has been doing a lot of content about shots and stuff.
Yep.
And that's more than 80% of the professional players.
Yep.
Like,
yep.
And that's he still himself is a professional player, but it just goes to say that it's only now that he's slowly working his way up on Super 300 and Super 500 and hopefully also 750s and 1000. And he already have a very strong platform, right? So it's a good investment as well.
Yeah. So our team, we actually did an official photo shoot for him a few months ago.
For 100.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
100. So our team did that for them. And obviously he was super easy to work with. Obviously we were aware of his social media following. But then in terms of social media, in terms of badminton content, there's so much that you can do. So he does primarily a lot more tutorials, like educational how-tos, so how-to content. So that's always amazing because professional players like you guys have the credibility and the actual technique to be able to deliver those.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, and those contents are greatly received and appreciated by fans all around the world, you know. So hopefully one day we can see something like yours.
Yeah, I already did quite a bit of on the VA Academy on my YouTube channel back in the day, but due to obviously how my career sort of it developed and stuff like that, it's been pretty hard to find time to do all these, but it's definitely something we can, or I will do more of in the future.
Yeah.
And revisit it when I'm done, because it's sort of also a good way to give, you know,
Give back to the community.
Give back to the community, and if you can grow a platform as well with that, it's great for all, and it's free on YouTube. And I think it's great that there is such huge support when it comes to those tutorials as well.
So obviously we will get much deeper into the badminton media side of things in a future episode, because besides traditional media, so you have TV, which is mainly owned by the local rights host broadcaster, which is then obviously BWF then owns every single piece of TV rights that you have internationally. But you also have like local media, so you have magazines. So here within Germany at the moment, which is where we are, they often produce tournament magazines, and a lot of our team work on those. Normally, say at a big tournament, you get one magazine a week, but in Germany they do this every day. So like a 24-page magazine, written photos, fully printed and given out to fans, which is an incredible amount of work.
Just about to say, I thought people are moving a little bit away from the magazine and it's more online now, but I think it's great that they keep that alive, and it's nice to have something physical.
To commemorate on. So actually, if you ever come across one of those, sometimes take 5 seconds, look at the credits, and actually, appreciate that these guys and girls actually put so much effort in to actually put them out every day for a tournament. And then obviously you have photographers, which are like journalists, you have these big media organizations. So you have Getty, AP, those. And then a lot of news outlets then buy those. And then also like Badminton Photo. So Badminton Photo is contracted to BWF, and they have photographers all around the world for the biggest tournaments. But then you have also like freelancers, like a lot of them like us, our teams, we work with some of the players, some of the other brands as well. And then so we have all the other crews all around. You then have written journalists, so those who do articles on newspapers, and then radio. So radio and magazine are quite big, apparently, in Japan. So at the All England, we often see Japanese journalists, radio journalists, and written ones. They're always there, media.
That's pretty cool.
So monthly magazines, I think, monthly or quarterly magazines. So that's still pretty cool.
Here in this part of the world, radio is getting less and less, I think. Talking about podcasts, now we're sitting doing a podcast, but it feels like podcasts are taking over a little bit in terms of radio and stuff. But it's great that it's still alive in Japan, I should say,
and it's still possible. But social media is obviously something that we're really interested in as a team, as a business, because I think we can see a lot of potential for scalability. And I think badminton is also still quite new.
It is.
Is it regulated? I'm not really sure, but we play by the rules that's actually set by BWF. We often try and push the limits as much as we can in terms of new products within social media. We want to showcase the best side of it. Like oftentimes the best action in badminton we cannot show because we do have the best angles, but sometimes because we're limited by the agreements, we cannot show. No. But we try and push it. If we're working for tournaments, it will come out on the tournament's official accounts. So for players as well, if ever any official accounts are actually looking to collaborate with you guys, it would be really helpful if everyone says yes. It helps as well.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah, because as players, you don't really get to know much about that side of the whole shebang. I was about to say the whole setup.
Yep.
And it's interesting to hear about how big it actually is for an event to be successful and how much work there goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah. And also tournaments are actually investing in more money in getting media crews in, like better media crews, and also crews that have an impact. I think traditionally there's always been people there, but if we can have more impact, that'll be better.
And another thing is that the promotion leading up to the tournament, like talking about now we're in Mulheim, right? And I know it's only a Super 300, but I haven't seen any promotion around the city about the tournament at all. There will probably be a good spectators here and good turnout, but for many of the big tournaments, there needs to be better promotion and lead up to the tournaments in general in order to, get some hype.
Yep.
That's one of those things also on social media where I think the tournaments and the organizers and BWF can do better.
That's actually an amazing question, which we will actually cover in the next episode, because having worked within this for the last 18 months, we actually have, I now actually have a little bit more insight and experience about this whole process. And let's talk a lot more deeply in this episode.
Let's do that.
Yep. So thank you again, guys. I think this episode is we're gonna stop it here.
Yes.
Badminton training, and we move a little bit into badminton media, but we will be covering this in a lot more detail and in depth in the next episode.
That sounds good, my friend. Thank you so much for
Thank
today.
you so much.
And thank you guys for watching. And don't forget to subscribe, comment, like, share, so we can get the podcast growing. So we really enjoy doing these, and hopefully we can make something special here. But that requires you to share it. So thank you for the support, and we'll see you in the next one.
We'll see you in the next one. So like this week, 4 p.m., which is perfect. What happens if you allocate at 8 a.m.?
Then you go at 8 a.m. So
Obviously, I don't fly business. Hopefully one day we can.
wait for this podcast to take off, CK.
Airline
Be flying
sponsors.
first class. Where I feel quite confident. Then
Sorry guys, we just had an interruption. Room service, well, it's not room service. Housekeeping. Sorry.
keeping this.
Don't worry, no panic. We are recording episode 4.
Yes.
We are in Mulheim.
Andorra. Andorra.
Yes, close to the river. We are very close to the river. How much does it cost you per tournament on average?
I should know. But
Why, when you guys said the shuttle was slow and the courts was hard to play, I understood it personally because...
you're sure it's not because it was 6 a.m.?
6 a.m. and also me not being very good.
If anybody asks and see the video and they think you didn't play, we'll just say it was 6 a.m.
Yeah, so...
I'm not supposed to play 6 a.m.
Yeah. I mean, and also I partnered Peter Gator and I lost every single time.
Okay.
So it's me, not him.
Okay.
You know.
It's okay. We'll still play Peter, but it's okay. So our usual setup would be breakfast, go to the gym, rest, or podcast.
Podcast.
And then rest,